Okay guys, welcome to our political reaction. I have no time to spare, so I'll have to rest so that today I have still 2 more videos to cover. One of course should be a premier vlog, and I still have another on Live Saga TV. So welcome to our analysis as we go and deep dive into political situation of Tanzania and Kenya, among other nations. And if you have any news about what's going on out there, feel free to share. Yeah, so guys, of course we've been so keen about that Tanzanian case, and we are not going to stop that. So, of course, we know very well that Samia Suluhu has testified to take an iron fist on Tanzania. And, of course, even though she speaks softly, most times people who speak softly are taken to be very gentle. Most times based on my voice. You know, my voice is a bit rough, you know. When I speak, even when I'm speaking, you know, with good intentions, people believe that I'm trying to be rude, I'm trying to be assertive, I'm trying to be aggressive. But there are people who sometimes speak with their very soft voices, and whatever they are saying is not quite palatable. But people may not see that these people are completely out of order, or they are authoritative, or they are actually dictating. Now, when you listen to Samia Suluhu's voice, it is one kind of soft voice that speaks volumes. You don't only have to pay attention to the words for you to understand that she's not joking. And that is exactly the tool she used even during the campaign period. She had to send around people to do what they have to do. And whenever she went to places, she could... Nani? All right, so welcome. Barack Games, don't ever go live. I am alive. So can you shoot? All right, so welcome. I had just taken a break to check on something out there, but I'm back, so welcome. Thank you so much. Those who are watching, please like the video, and I really appreciate. The fact that Suluhu actually speaks softly makes so many people trust in what she says. And of course, yesterday I was just paying attention to her video when she was talking during the inauguration. You know, her presentation was making her sound like she was all airs, all honey, you know, like, you know, her speech was coming out as if she really meant what she was saying. And I really believe that so many people who listened to her think that she was speaking volumes about what she said. Remember, she came out to accuse foreigners for invading her country and creating fracas. So, if in fact, that is what I know, most people who visited that, you know, high military, you know, event believe that that is the truth, you know, because she was speaking softly and saying that no doubt she was not, you know, she was not surprised when she realized that most of the people who were arrested were from other countries. Now, how I wish Tanzania would come out with figures to show us how many people actually came from Kenya, for example, or Uganda, or Rwanda, or any other country. And of course, from the news that had been shared even before, the aspect was that those Martin Habutus, hello, welcome from Germany. Thank you so much for your like and your presence. I really appreciate. All right. So when I go back to the analysis on her speech yesterday, then I realized that Samia Suluhu has a tool, a very strong tool in her voice. When she speaks, people actually take everything she's saying as the gospel truth. Okay? Martin Habatus, yes. Yes, I am. All right? Yeah, I am. What about you? Are you also that? Okay. TechTeds TV, welcome. That should be a channel. Hi there. Why that? That Joey. Joey is not meant for everybody. Mohamed Gueye, CV. What is the CV for? Anyway, let's focus on our topic of the day, but I appreciate all of you for your presence. I really thank you for coming on my platform. May God bless your endeavors and your efforts as we go through the analysis of the day. Political analysis must continue. Whether it's for Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, you can bring it on, and let's go about it. So Mohamed Gueye says CV, and I don't know why. And then now drops the heart plus the, we call it the Red Cross sign. Anyway, thank you all of you for your presence, and thank you for always coming back to our channel. Of course, we'll keep sharing political reactions, and we will also do the same on Live Saga TV. So I appreciate. Of course, the making of a dictator for Samia started long ago when she inherited the position of the president of Tanzania. She studied everything on the ground and realized that she has to do something. And I think she noticed that since Chama cha Mapinduzi has been on the lead forever, she has to maintain it. Now, I want to bring you somebody who spoke about Tanzania's situation. I think, and I want you to just listen a little bit to this. I don't know what you will get out of this.
If people were just allowed to be free, the leaders who wanted to vie for the election was going to be a defining moment for Tanzania in terms of finally they get to exercise that democratic right and put in their leader. If none of this opposition shenanigans, if people were just allowed to be free, the leaders who wanted to vie for the election, and actually just they were given a fair play, would we really have this kind of things happening? So for me, it's very simple. The fact that our deputy president, Kithure Kindiki, spent our taxpayers' money, got into a flight.
Take that. I also said hi. I don't know whether you got it.
When that woman, the president now of Tanzania, said that it is in fact foreigners, alluding that it was Kenyans who came in, alluding that it was other people who came in. They're even trying to make it a religious war between Muslims and non-Muslims. The fact that he went there with the taxpayers' money, clapped when we are being accused of having going to disrupt a democratic process. For me, I think that is an impeachable offense. Because as the deputy president, who is supposed to be a symbol of national unity, but not only national unity, a symbol of exercising the human rights, a symbol of a person who actually, an office that is pushing Kenyans and is pushing this nation to stand by the constitution. Just by him being there and clapping and smiling when people have been killed and murdered, and literally, let me say, aliosha akapatia hiyo inauguration and whatever mwosho moja. Right. For me, it was very sad, and let me tell you something. The next regime, because in 2027 these people are not going to be in office. That regime that comes in should not only put a commission of inquiry for all the corruption. They should put a commission of inquiry.
So Gloria Roba actually addressed the matter of Tanzania, and I think I was agreeing with her on some percentage, because how do you go to a country whereby they're accusing your citizens for having invaded and caused fracas in a neighboring country, and you're there celebrating? It's a shame on Kindiki. Actually, Kindiki went to Tanzania, sat in that private swearing moment and celebrated. Now, my question was, why was it that Tanzania had to have a private event of swearing in Dodoma? If at all, Suluhu believes that she was elected by 31 million Tanzanian, 97% of Tanzanians. Why was there a lot of security during the swearing-in moment? Why was it a private event and not a public one? Because if 31 million people have voted for you, they would be happy to watch you being sworn in. However, this was a very protected setting, and only very few people are supposed to go in. Now, what I'm driving at is what is Suluhu said to do now since then? Of course, we heard from her speech. She clearly said that she is going to protect the citizens while being sworn in, and she will do development, and she will do what she has to do with all her efforts. That is the soft voice I'm talking about. But during her speech, I don't know whether you listened to her carefully, and she was saying that she's going to ensure that all the regional police officers or those in charge of security are going to handle the matters of security by first checking out on who was responsible and then bringing to books these people. Now, she already spelled out that the people who actually were arrested, some of them are not Tanzanian. But then I was just asking, if, for example, elections are going on and I stay in Uganda, does it mean during election time I have to come back to Kenya? Isn't there a high possibility that maybe those who are there and they were also demonstrating on the streets may be just staying in that country, even if they are not Tanzanians? That is one question I've tried to ask myself, and possibly I wanted to get an answer into this and understand, does it mean whatever he was saying, that those who are there demonstrating were coming out and they don't stay in Tanzania? Maybe somebody will tell me. But looking at that, then I saw fireworks actually erupting on Kenya, and yet people were just there smiling. Okay, now I see a lot of trouble in Tanzania. I am not a pessimist and I'm not a prophetess of doom, but what I'm trying to say is this. In case citizens continue with this kind of eruptions, because of course we've still heard that some people are still demonstrating. And there was a video here. Let me check on that video. There was a video here showing that though there's no destruction because the army are there, but there's still this. Can you imagine? There's still this, even after the swearing in. Now, when you look at those kind of songs, they are singing, they are not destroying things, they are not actually attacking anybody, but the young people are still singing that. And the kind of songs they are singing are just mockery songs to Suluhu. Of course, they are saying that they love Tanzania, they love everything, but if only their president can listen to them, she would offer them what they want. And what are they demanding? Of course, they are demanding the constitutional changes, that the constitution has to be amended properly, and they also have to get a dialogue which will allow the opposition to to be integrated into the government. I don't know whether this is possible, because even though yesterday from the speech, Suluhu openly said that she is open to dialogue, that dialogue is the best option, unlike demonstrations and destroying things in the streets, because according to what she said, referring to other speakers, of course, one was the president of Burundi, and we had another leader from I don't know which country. So she said that despite people wanting to go to the streets destroy, and when they destroy, it is not easy to actually wake up from that situation, which is true, because we've seen in Kenya these things happening and they do not actually help. Sometimes, indeed, those voices are supposed to be heard, but because the tools of leadership are in other people's hands, the tools of security are in other people's hands, and the legislature, among other faces like executive, are in other people's hands. Now we depend wholly on them to effect, and that is why the aspect of Gen Z alone is not going to change the world, but we need a Gen Z with a party, a Gen Z with a faith, and a Gen Z with ideologies, so that we don't just have random young people running to the streets and burning, because at the end of the day, if there is need for dialogue, who is supposed to be talking to the government? You know, looking at the Tanzanian situation, for example, even though Chadema, it looked like what was the demand was just release unconditionally, okay? But then that has not given a solution to the Tanzania, because even from outside we can see clearly that democracy has been affected. Now, what am I trying to say here? The aspect of continuous protests in a country have a lot of effects, and most of the effects are negative. Let's begin with the positive outcomes though. If there is a continuous repression and you know, kind of demonstrations happening in Tanzania, this is what may happen. One, it may force the government to pay attention to the public grievances, okay, such as the economic hardships, the constitutional you know, gaps, inequalities, corruption, lack of representation. We've seen this happen in Kenya. After the so many demonstrations that happened, of course, the government had to pay attention to some of their grievances. You remember the Gen Z demonstration in 2024 Kenya. It led to pressure for that. Now, another positive impact would be that they can accelerate reforms in the government. And these reforms happen in a way that there is a new engagement with civil society and increased transparency. That may result into a situation that is better than the previous one. Now, look at the Kenyan protests that happened all along, if you are watching, around taxes and the cost of living. Of course, recently we had someone trying to twist the narrative and say that they twisted it and coined and made it go through, but I don't think that is fully true. The other positive effect of these continuous protests would be that they can energize civil society, okay? They energize civil society and public participation, so that now citizens are aware of what they need to know. Most people have been treating Tanzanians like naive individuals, not informed. But if these demonstrations continue taking place, people will want to know why. And then public participation, civil society engagement, as well as increasing political awareness will take place. And therefore, the younger generations and even older ones will be informed of the situation of Tanzania. And that is the truth. However, there are negative effects, and in fact, there are more than the positives. So I don't know. Of course, yesterday when I heard Suluhu speaking, she just said that what the citizens should check is whether they'll take the positive or the negative, and I was like, are you really serious? As a president, you should be taking that which is positive. You shouldn't be giving citizens options for whichever, like the Bible tells us, you can decide to be on the sinful end or the correct end, then at the end of the day, you choose heaven or hell. This is not the way a leader should go. And I'm going to play a video in which a young lady was speaking about leaders and what truly leaders should be. Now, the negative consequences of the continuous protests are as follows. Number one, The number one is the economic damage. When protests continue in a country, and I've looked at Kenya, when protests continue, business is disrupted. Actually, you saw Tanzania in many of the towns and cities where protests were going on, people had destroyed a lot of things. Okay, so what happens is that Suluhu might face a problem of economic growth in her country because this Swadik, hi, TechTales TV, I also said hi. I hope you saw, but I really appreciate your presence and like the video as we continue. So what I'm saying is that there is a lot of economic degradation with protests that are persistent in a country, and I've seen in my country, Kenya, a lot of businesses have had a loss. I remember there's a time I was supposed to have my books sent to me from the city, and it was impossible because there was no way people could have traveled from Nairobi to the wherever I stay, and papers were not running and all that. So economically people are affected because, again, if your business is run down, remember the way there is a supermarket that was burned down in Nairobi. Do you think the owner has really had to recover all that was lost? I don't think so. So economic damage will happen in Tanzania because like if you look in Kenya, the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry has been telling us that we have had a greatest loss during the time of protests, okay? And you can check on details for that. The other problem with continuous protests, as what we have seen in Tanzania, there will be reduced investor confidence. I don't think even currently a lot of people want to invest in Kenya as it was before demonstrations were happening. Just the same thing will happen in Tanzania. In Tanzania, when you travel around the places like Dodoma, Dar es Salaam, and Mwanza, among others, you find that most shops are owned by Somali people, the Arabs, and what have you. King Matiso, welcome here. Thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate, and may God bless you in your endeavors. Yeah. So, for example, when you travel in Tanzania, as I've told you, across as you get to the Dar es Salaam and what have you, most of the shops you see there, they're owned by Arabic people. Some of them are owned by foreigners. Now, some foreigners will be scared. Oisa Washington, welcome so much. Thank you for showing up here. I really appreciate. Big up to you. May God bless you. So, reduced investor confidence comes in a country when demonstrations are there and people are not so sure about tomorrow. Currently, for example, even if people would step in Tanzania, are they so sure about tomorrow? People are still scared because they don't know whether people still attack the president or say they want this or that. So what happens is that with uncertainties and roadblocks and disruptions on transport and supply chains, you find that investors kind of are weary about investing in such a country, and therefore that is why such demonstrations are not safe for any country. Okay, another challenge with the situation of Tanzania and demonstrations is the damage of infrastructure and commerce. I think you saw the videos I played yesterday and even the other day. When you look at Tanzania and see the infrastructure, like people are actually burning, literally burning places. Like even there was a petrol station burned down. There were some wires disconnected and all that. So what happens in such a situation is that you find that with the infrastructure destroyed, a lot of people may kind of feel that why should I even come to such a country and invest? And also, generally that infrastructure is put down. How long can it take to restructure it? We have looting that was going on in Tanzania, closures, property damage, and disruptions on markets, transport, and so many other things. That is a direct negative impact of continuous demonstrations. And we've seen this in Kenya, so that's why we're talking about it. Political instability is another open case. So when there is demonstrations, that is a clear indication. I don't know what's happening. There was some, I don't know what's happening. There was some kind. So there is a clear indication that that country, stop bringing a lot of light. Your light nyingi na effect. acha tu. Yeah, so it's a clear indication that there is a downfall in a country with so many demonstrations, and it happens that that reads political instability as we've done in history and all that. So repeated protests, of course, deepen divisions among people, push and pull in governments, and it creates a very harsh tactic. Just as Suluhu was saying at some point, that when we have demonstrations and fights, what it does is to open room to weighing the energy or the ability of one another in how they can fight so much or whatever. So such is a situation that is not suitable at all. Again, with the demonstration, there is a social cost. Generally, there is a social cost because now people die, and again, we realize that foreign investment is lacking and all that. Okay, so why would this persist? Remember, Suluhu is not accepting, or rather appreciating, that there is a foul somewhere. From her speech yesterday, she clearly indicated that everything was fine, elections ran fine, Tanzanians voted safely, and they have agreed. So according to what I'm seeing, she's not appreciating that there is any problem. In fact, she said that all others just consented their failure. Okay? So it's like she's not seeing any problem. And it will also be sustained because now, the young people still have that urge to continue proving something. Now, the ICC, there is a threat of an ICC for Suluhu. And the reason behind it, I think all of you know, that Chadema had to file a case, has had to file a case against Suluhu. And that is directed towards the loss of lives that have been seen in Tanzania. And of course, from from Sunday, there was indication that Tanzania is actually hiding the true picture of how many people have died. And of course, you look around, you realize that some videos are running around, and you can see evidence of people who have been killed, being carried by some individuals. And there are also some who had to run to Kenya for treatment with wounds, people who are alive, but they were wounded. And of course, there is direct videos we can see with a direct shooting. The live bullets are being shot at individuals. So let's just briefly listen to commentator partly, and then we can proceed with our video.
And by calling upon the United Nations and specifically the International Criminal Court ICC to investigate what they describe as mass killings of civilians under the administration of President Samia Suluhu Hassan. To understand the weight of this moment, we must first understand the atmosphere in Tanzania right now.
Watu waliwawa hapa, mtawaona hapo, miili imelala hapo chini. Jamaa anaangalia, unaona miili yote imelala hapo chini.
What began as demonstrations, ordinary citizens protesting the validity and fairness of the election process, has now transformed into a scene of national distress. Civilians have been met with not dialogue, not with negotiation, but with force, excessive lethal force. Videos and photographs have emerged from multiple regions showing bodies.
What is happening to the net again? Possibly there is a disconnection on the computer. Let me see how to connect it, then continue. So of course you can clearly see that even though the picture being painted to us as the general world is very different, but I saw again the human rights individuals addressing the matter, and they were saying that the numbers on ground and the numbers that are being shown by TBT or the official communication channels in Tanzania are quite different. So the activists and human rights people are trying to collect information so that they back it up and support what Chadema is actually saying. So there were new evidence which were released since yesterday, and they continue to be released. Now let me just connect with the computer again and see what to show here. So let's get to get this more evidence here of what is being played right here. The connection has had an issue, but we are going to amend it very soon. All right, here. And it's not just one video, by the way. Different channels that are independent have shown very different information from what Tanzania itself is showing. And of course, even though they are collecting bodies, dumping in the rivers, I think human beings have a way to just emerge. And I think yesterday I showed you one of the videos in which the human activists were communicating and sharing this information. But let's just check on this. I don't know why it's slow.
Is Tanzania's president. At the same time, there is widespread difficulty for the injured to reach medical attention, not just because hospitals are full, but because essential services are failing. Transportation has been disrupted. Communication networks have been intentionally weakened or shut down. Internet access has been restricted. When a government controls information, it controls perception. And when perception is controlled, injustice can be carried out in silence.
Of course, and now the fact that Tanzania had to conduct a blackout that, officially made communication very difficult. And of course, I heard one person saying that Tanzania did not call around bodies, independent bodies from international level, even though we saw SULUHU mentioning some of the people who were called, not the real independent bodies were really called. And I want you to listen to this.
Shut off, the media was running. Why was the internet shut off? Why was the whole country in a blackout in a way that us as outsiders, we are not stupid. We can be able to see that, hey, listen, these are outside forces, because we would have seen, for instance, during the inauguration, during the swearing-in ceremony, we would have seen, even if not 32 million Tanzanians celebrating, we should have seen at least 1 million. We didn't have to be witnessing a swearing-in where there were no public, where the security was high. If at all you're saying these outside people have come to influence, what is happening to the 13 million voters who are so happy to give 87% of the vote to this lady? So we also sometimes have to just be, this is a black and white situation. Another thing, as you have put out, they were able to count these votes in 2 days of no internet and no electricity, but they counted them. If you look at that election, normally you have all these now foreign bodies and missions who come to do the observation of the election to make sure that they write a report back to their countries because they have partner ties or whatever. We had no representation of European Union. We had no representation of the United States. We had no representation of international bodies that observe elections. Why? Because they were shut out. Because if I'm planning to steal an election, why the hell would I want EU and US and all these people who do observation, including those democratic bodies that are international, to actually come and write that? Indeed, in this polling station, there was zero turnout, but we are going to report millions of votes that were cast. So it is no secret. For me, I think it's very simple. Samia was actually not elected. She inherited, that's it. Out because, there was a death, and she happened to be the deputy. And this election was going to be a defining moment for Tanzania in terms of finally they get to exercise that democratic right and put in their leader. If none of these opposition shenanigans, if people were just allowed to be free, the leaders who wanted to vie for the election, and actually just they were given a fair play, would we really have this kind of things happening? So for me, it's very simple. The fact that
Okay, so I hope you understand why SULUHU is being blamed squarely in this matter, because the freedom, the aspect of allowing everybody to freely participate in elections would have been a fair entity. If that was conducted and she went through successfully, then nobody would be talking. And I don't think there would be any demonstrations, any death and all that. So maybe people loved her, but then how she really did the aspects here, you know, you can be even the lover of a man, but if you decide that you have to go see the soothsayer, you decide that you have actually to kill the former girlfriend, you decide that you would actually have to conduct a house arrest for the mother-in-law for the wedding to go on, then there is something funny that comes out in the entire equation. Because if you really truthfully believe you are loved and the relationship can go on, don't arrest anybody. Don't bar anybody from attending the wedding. Don't actually try to make matters difficult for anybody. Just go on with your confidence and bounce to the altar. Let us see you putting on the wedding gown and winning it. But then when you now begin to house arrest the sister-in-law, you put some people under the surveillance to surveil your mother-in-law. I don't know, your father-in-law is put in a car and driven wherever. That communicates a lot about you. So the reason why we are squarely blaming Suluhu and saying that she deserves to go to ICC is because she was the center of everything. Even though she's saying that the officers should investigate and find out who caused the problem, she is the cause of the problem. We saw that squarely during the rallies. We saw the barring of opposition leader, a strong opposition leader. We saw squarely how Chadema was put in for treason. Treason, which is a very funny thing you cannot prove. You know, there are cases you cannot prove. So you don't just put someone in and you cannot prove for whatever case you are saying they did. Then at some point, we saw that the army was not with her. So I just don't know. Even yesterday was when I was looking at that swearing moment as she's actually walking around the army, I was like, are you so sure? Then you must be having the heart of a cat. You know, a cat can fight. A cat can fight with water. It can fight in a dark room. It can fight in a sack until it survives. Anyway, we have to also discuss Kenyan politics, of course, because now Kenya is also having a serious matter. And of course, lately we had landslides. We had landslides and flash floods that killed at least 26. And we have several people who are still missing on that. I would wish we go to that.
What the research says, watch this. Normally,
so when
affected areas, it has also cut off the affected area from the rest of the region.
It is sad that last night we had a devastating landslide which has affected majorly due to the heavy rains affected Embabut, Sambirir and Endo, majorly Endo, especially Jesongoch area.
And this incident triggered a multi-agency search and rescue operation. According to authorities, 26 have been rescued from devastating floods. The injured were then airlifted to safety for treatment, while a search for 25 others still under the debris is underway. The government has deployed military planes and disaster response specialists for this operation.
One thing I have to tell you for sure is that the area is still susceptible to landslide and it's still very active. As of today, while we were doing the search and recovery or rescue, we have had roads that were already opened being marked again or populated again by mudslides, and so it's still an active incident that we are.
Alright guys, so this happened in Kenya,
for purposes of their safety.
in Chesongoch areas of Kenya, and actually it's something very sad to lose 26 people because some of them have not been identified wherever they are. And let me be sure with you that the rains that are actually falling in Kenya are too much. Even the river closest to me is flooded, and yesterday I sent somebody to take some chicken food and geese food to home, only for them not to be able to cross over because the river is flooded. And the rains are still going on, sometimes raining for 3 hours and very heavy rains. And that is one of the things that is causing this kind of disaster. So it is a moment that we should actually pray for the hand of God, because it all calls upon God to help and help people, because as you can see, it happens especially in mining areas, but still, even in our area with so many rain, much rain, we are having people who are being carried away by the river, and they cannot be found, because when the water is flooding, who can risk getting into the river to swim and look for a dead body? So it has happened that some people who died even 2 weeks ago have not been fetched, and their bodies are unrecovered. So as we look into matters of Tanzania and maybe the neighboring nations, we also have very serious incidences happening in Kenya. And away from that, we have a political storm in Kenya as well. Now, currently, we've seen accusations, leaders just playing guilty, innocent, guilty, pointing fingers at each other, but not solving the problems of Kenyans. And I want to bring to your attention one of those aspects right here. Let me just see whether I'll find it very fast. Yeah, so of course, before I get to that information, yeah, of course, it's this one here.
Great. So for Q4, I was thinking. What are you doing? Oh, we needed a. All right, agree with
what is this? That
start time tracking. Great. So for Q4, I was thinking. What are you doing? Oh, we needed a. Hata kabla mjamzika, mmesha endorse mtu mpya. It has never happened in the world. Tunaionea kwa ODM. Hata kama angekuwa ni huyo Oburu, but was it necessary? The speed at which he was endorsed, tunaona hiyo sio heshima kwa baba. Jambo la pili ni kwamba kuna makundi mawili, wale ambao wanakula kwa serikali, wamepata tenders, wanafanya biashara kubwa kubwa na serikali ya William Ruto. Sasa hiyo wamenona, wanasema uwezi tutoa hii nyama kwa mdomo.
Tumbo imejaa.
But hao ni watu wachache sana. ODM ni chama cha watu milioni 7. Na uangalie kwamba ni kwa nini watu walikufa. Watu walikufa ndio mbadi ya kule chakula.
No.
Watu walipenda jela ndio Joe apewe kazi. Watu wamepoteza mali, wamepoteza maisha, wamepoteza wapendwa wao. Ndio watu wawili watatu waende kufanya biashara.
All right, guys. So why did I bring Amisi? Caleb Amisi MP actually speaks the voice of so many people in ODM, and he's the MP of Saboti. And when you listen to what he's saying, there is some truth in that as well. But what is he trying to tell us as Kenyans? There is a bombshell in ODM. As far as we have seen ODM cruising the waters of the oceans and, walking around the island, the reality is that there is a great war in ODM. And these people are not acknowledging it. But you can see openly, even in their discussions, recently, even as they were in Coast, and we saw Ruth Odinga speaking, Oburu Odinga speaking, we saw Sifuna speaking, and many other leaders. It was clear that these people have two minds in one. One group has a different thought, the other one has a different thought. And the group of Sifuna are actually asserting the ideologies of the party, and they are scared that ODM is going to die a natural death. So what they are now doing is the pointing out fingers at each other and fighting wars that are not taking them anywhere. And I think it's giving RUTO, the president, a lot of fun, because when a political party that has been strong comes down, it's a problem. Now we can see Amisi Caleb has just testified clearly that ODM is a dying party, and they are orphaned big time, and they are not sure of what to do because currently we have divided forces. However, he still has hopes. He told us that ODM still has 7,000 people, and the ones who are benefiting from the government because of the tenders, the salaries, like Mbade, Joho, and Oparanya, among others, are just few. So they may not decide what ODM will do. But I can assure you, as long as there is division in ODM, even if the many will still stand and move on, it will no longer be the same. It is not business as usual. It will not be business as usual. So there is a lot of effort they have to do now. Gachagua has dropped a bombshell, and I wanted to go to that. Gachagua has actually dropped a bombshell, and I want to see. Kalonzo was addressing the nation. Can I find the video? Yeah, it's here. Yeah, here there is. Kalonzo was addressing the nation, and they were sending messages to the government. Akiambia mtoto ache kelele.
We are dealing with a very important matter of recommitting Kenya mama yangu, Kenya baba yetu.
You are making noise.
Hatutakuacha milele. That composition by the late Kakai of Kilimambogo Boys is a very iconic composition. And whoever played it actually has talked to some of us. So it is in that spirit of building one strong nation, recommitting ourselves to the ideals of who we are as a people, as a nation, that we have been holding consultations as of now as united opposition, mainly opposition parties who have presented candidates for the November 27th by-election. And in this case, the three parties are the...
How does a simple tool save time and moms?
Sometimes the commercials are good for the YouTubers,
together, anything is possible.
but when you are reacting, they affect a lot on the flow of thought. Let me skip them.
Democratic Action Party of Kenya, Wiper Patriotic Front, and Democratic Citizens Party, DCP. So we've been consulting between ourselves, and we realize the contest before Kenyans, the choice they're going to be making on 27th, is really between the proponents of one term na wale wengine. So tunaona kwamba hii campaign sasa imeanza, na tunashukuru wenzetu, tuanze hapo. DCP walikubali kwamba kwa upande wa Bere North watamsupport, na sisi zote to support candidate Bwana Karis, candidate wa chama cha DP, Democratic Party. We live Malava, Bere North, Magarini, and of course we have candidates in Kasipul, Kabul.
Yeah, so of course we've seen the by-election. The by-election process is very fundamental in the lives of parties in Kenya. And therefore the opposition has actually dropped a bombshell to the government by ensuring that they support one individual from one of the parties among the many. Now, what I'm seeing is a scenario of 207. Moses Kuria had insinuated this situation, and I can see the alliance coming from the opposition is trying to play that on that front. So they have decided to come together and front specific candidates in the by-elections for Magarini, Malava, Kaspul, Mbeere North, and we have also Northeastern, you know. So they are trying to front one candidate across the many parties so that they can see how to win. And I think that this is a bombshell that is being dropped at the government, because recently we saw RUTO while in Kakamega. I don't know why he would pick Atwoli. How would you go pick a conservative, somebody who believes in old school aspects, somebody who still says that it was right for Moi to dictate and actually shut down democracy? How do you go pick such a person to go around for you in Western so that they can speak for the government? I don't know. I don't know actually the plans of the president, but I would call this a failure, this process that he took. You cannot pick Atwoli and believe that he's the kingpin of Western, so that you are going to move around with him and he will influence the decisions of voters. I just don't know. That is my decision, my thought though. I don't know. Maybe other people have different opinions. I respect them. But in my view, I don't think Atwoli was the right person for the president to pick and move around with, so that he campaigns and says that whenever he picks someone, then that person must pass. And so he uses the memes of Shans. I was like, that one is just too much. Anyway, now we've finally seen Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Malala, Eugene, Natembea, and this has not started today. I've been seeing this trend. Only that I hope they now collect others such as Matiang, Maraga, and the rest. They put them on board so that we have an alliance against the government. And they should not think of Gachagua as the candidate, because automatically we know that if they do that, maybe people will use the former mistakes of impeachment to actually walk away from that. And again, I'm looking at, lucky enough, Kalonzo Musyoka already shared the manifesto. And they should not just keep talking about the fact that they are against one term while the other one is two term. They should now actively begin telling us what they are going to do. Now, there is one thing that I've also realized. We were cheated by a very smart, manifesto by this government. Though I was not a part of the ones who were cheated, okay? I didn't trust what was said, but let's listen to this.
At one point in the campaign rally, it was unbecoming because the abuses were just flying left, right, and center. And there is nothing that William Ruto has not used to abuse Raila Odinga. During elections, during campaigns, after campaigns, even at the time when after the 207 coalition government, you remember when there was the 207, 208 post-election violence, and then there was the handshake, and Raila Odinga even actually said, thank you, William Ruto, for helping me in this cause, and gave him the Ministry of Agriculture. Even during that time, William Ruto was still abusing Raila Odinga. And I want to remind Kenyans that William Ruto was the one on the podium conducting the state funeral, saying how he has lost a friend, how he has lost a brother, how he has lost a very close person. And one thing we have to remember as Kenyans is, number one, the only reason Raila Odinga went to this government, the Kenya Kwanza government, was because William Ruto desperately needed him. Because it was after the Gen Z. It was after the Gen Z. Had there not been the uprising that Raila Odinga actually pushed Kenyans and said, you must fight for your country to bring your country back. This president is becoming and people went to the streets. They believed in him and they said, we're going to fight for our country. And it was only after parliament was breached and burnt down that William Ruto panicked and then said, my goodness, I need to call Raila Odinga to government. So Raila Odinga never went to government because he loved to go to and join Kenya Kwanza. In fact, he did William Ruto a favor. But if there's a person who has been abusing Raila Odinga, number one is William Ruto. So for anyone to say that anyone who has abused Raila Odinga should not be in Bondo, then in the state funeral, let me tell you, all the VIPs should have not been in that. Because all the VIPs are politicians, and you in this politics, today we are friends, tomorrow we are not friends. Today someone is calling you Mrogi. For some of us women, you are a prostitute. Tomorrow you are the best friend. It is like that. That is how the politics of this country is. But the thing that you have to remember is, above and beyond politics, William Ruto actually was never a friend to Raila Odinga, and yet the family has been very cordial. The family has allowed everyone to go and mourn Raila Odinga, whether he was your hero, whether he was your enemy, whether he was what, you mourn him. And that is what is being tolerated, and that is what the family is actually having to do every day for the last how many weeks. So for me to listen to the likes of Gladys Wanga speaking of such things, and then going to State House to stand next to William Ruto, shame on her. Because the person, she should have said, we don't even want a state funeral because the state funeral will be run by William Ruto, who's the #1 abuser of Raila Odinga, then she should have come out guns blazing. Okay. So I think if the united opposition wants to go with over 1 million job opportunities.
So of course that is a kind of counter attack on Gladys Wanga and ODM. So you can see, what am I telling you? There is a great bombshell, or rather problem, in ODM. And I don't know how they'll solve the problem, but I can see a lot of darkness, unless otherwise. Let me put on the lights. The lights. So I can generally see a lot of darkness, because if, for example, we can see the opposition alliance coming together for a deal, and a joint deal, and if only they can also take care of what they have to say, because sometimes what we say matters, and how we say it also matters. And you know, sometimes I don't just understand. I want to look at, there is a lady here who really said a lot of information that impressed me. The fact that leaders should stop. What is speaking? I want to check on this video. The video indicated that a real leader, there is what a real leader does. A real leader checks on what is really workable. They don't just give theories and promise people because they know that that is what people will have to agree with. And I'm checking this video. I hope I'll find it. Where is this? Yeah, this lady here. I was impressed by her speech.
Why? Because this is the one that is more sustainable. The world we live in today, leadership is about influence. It is not about authority. You work on servant leadership by getting influence from the people. That is when you get legitimacy. That is when you make your life easy. And how do you do this? You listen to the people, you are firm, you have your conviction, and you guide and you lead. I have to say, in 2022, really leading up to, when President Ruto was elected, he had a very good message. I mean, he was able to tell people, Mama Mboga and the rest of you, I have this better economic plan, and I'm going to uplift you and put you somewhere very significant. Why was that selling well? Because your job as a leader is to simply take a people's vision and turn it into a reality. So when he packaged this better economic plan as a vision for the people, and he was focused more on, watu wa chini, that was very appealing. Fine, the watu wa pili said, let's give you a chance, because, us, it's not dynasty. Us, we're going to be Mama Mbogas and watu wa chini, and you're given this opportunity. Now you have to take this and you transform this into a reality. This is now the test, and this is a period where I think President Ruto is, where we are waiting to see, well, are you turning this into a reality? Just something, big talks, those people will not help you. Because when you're the incumbent and you're sitting in that office, you're judged very differently from people who are out there and just saying whatever they'd like to say. For you, the people look at you and tell you, we have given you the mandate. What you should do is tell us, listen, because you have given me this mandate, I have been able to transform X and taken it to Z. Why? Because this is what I had promised to do for you. For example, one of the biggest tenets of that was to say, I'm going to transform the education sector, right? So he said, listen, I'm going to come in with a good plan. I have this, new way of the new funding, model for education. It is very visionary, and I'm going to implement it. Today, how many weeks has it been since our university students are home? Okay, so for the first time, we're having our children home for over 2 months. I am a woman. When you keep children home for 2.5 months, young girls, we are about to see a sharp rise, in early pregnancies. School for us is not just a place where we go and learn, it's also a safe haven for our children. And when we don't have a proper kind of environment or community where we can feed these children.
All right, so you had that lady. She's a Gen Z economist in economist schools,
Well, where we can keep them away from child.
So when you listen to this lady, actually even the comment section, it's flooded with words like brilliant young lady, no jokes, spots on. In 2022, anybody above 42 years old knew WSR was a hopeless, corrupt fella, irredeemably so. The youth never knew or believed his history when told. They believed his sly tongue. The church cemented him. Another one is like brilliant mind, led in yellow. The other one is like well said, on point. Whenever Ruto speaks, it's like a lecture. He doesn't connect with the people. He becomes grandiose about he will win in 2027. One day he called the president's economist advisors to tell Kenya and the world where their input has escaped to. Another one says, I don't know why Ruto has suddenly started to do things for the Kenyans and not himself. And you can't invite investors or electing them to come if you can't get corruption under control. Hey, anyway, I don't want to read so much, but from the few comments there, you can actually see that, I don't know. I just don't know whether the situation can be like Tanzania, but I hope not. And I think even Sufuna and other people came out to speak about that, saying that what has happened in Tanzania can easily come to Kenya, and they have to really prevent it wholeheartedly. Okay? So, yesterday, of course, the president was at this geothermal. Was he at the geothermal fertilizer plant somewhere? Yesterday or today? One of them. And, geothermal today, yesterday he was somewhere again. And all he has to say is that I'll win in 2027. Let them make noise, but I'll win. I don't know why he says that, but I just don't know. Okay? And let's listen to Mchomba as we come to an end of our discussion. And I really appreciate you people. So let's listen to Mchomba here. Because Mchomba has been missing for quite a while. Now she's back.
There is a battle that has been, who told us that Uhuru is dynasty? Those who come from, we normally say, if you are a wise speaker, sometimes you take a gulp of water in your mouth so that you only speak when you swallow the water. That way, you'll avoid saying unnecessary things. When these people are talking about 1 term and 2 term, are you going to eat 1 term? Of course not. Are you going to pay school fees using 1 term? Are you going to use to pay school fees using 2 term? You know, when you're talking about 2 term, you're talking about who is going to benefit from being in power again. But me who gave you the votes, now I gave you the vote. Yeah. Have you sorted me out first? Can we stop the political class from capturing the economy of this country? Using the political opportunity for them to get power. For example, right now, I come from Githunguri. You know we are coffee farmers. Right now, for the last 3 months, coffee farmers have been protesting. I'm sure you've seen the noise. Yes. About this new DSS payment system introduced by government. They are saying it's going to collapse their societies, their factories, their money is not going to be in the right hands, and all those stories. Which of those party leaders has stood on a platform, on a Sunday service or wherever, and spoke about that? So, do we have hold on a minute. Do we have meetings happening in Central Kenya every day? Every weekend, political meetings. When we see people on rooftops, what do they talk about? Do they talk about coffee farmers? Are they talking about milk problems? Are they talking about fertilizer? No. All we are speaking is, we are removing you, we are putting so and so. We are removing you. I'm not here to defend Ruto. By the way, on record, many records, Mimi na William Ruto tuliachana the day he did not fulfill what we agreed on Women Charter as a woman leader. And I called one politician and I told him, and I hope he is going to listen to this interview. I called one politician and I said, you know, brother, me and you don't agree in politics because of a few things you do and a few things I do. But look here. Me and you come from the same region. Mm-hmm. We have already checked that central. And me and you are the Meshokes of today. We are the Jenga Karomes of today. We are the Wangari Maathais of today. If you're waiting for anybody else to come out from anywhere else to come and sort out issues in Central, you're dreaming. And I told him, it's time for you to up your game. You must come out strongly as a leader. And you must provide solutions for what is ailing us. Before Baba comes to sort out Kenya, we need to sort out Mulima first.
All right, so you've seen another bombshell from Wamchomba. Okay, so Wamchomba is not just talking about the government. He's not talking about the government alone. but the entire political parties, okay? The general political parties in Kenya. So what Wamchomba is saying has a lot of sense. Let the politicians, I've even said that on my channel, let the politicians now come out and tell us what are they doing for us. We are tired with just listening to 1 term, 2 term, 1 term, 2 term. I'm going to win early in the morning. We are going to beat him early in the morning. What exactly do you want to do for us? We have problems currently with education. There is a delay in the coming of the money allocated to schools. Some of us who are doing business with schools, we have a great problem. Like we go at a loss, we have to keep borrowing loans on phones and what have you and collapse our businesses because capitation is delaying. So when the schools get money, they have so many debts, they don't know who to pay and who not to. We also look at the situation of what has happened currently. The economy has collapsed because money is not actually moving. People are stealing too much, that the circulation of money has been limited. When we look also at the situation of health, even though people are saying SHA is working, SHA is working, SHA is working, I don't know whether people have received serious illnesses in families. Has SHA really helped? Yesterday I was in hospital and I heard there was a dialysis patient and the hospital was clearly telling the patient you cannot be assisted on SHA. So I don't know, when we talk about these things, sometimes people think it's politics, but health is just a very important thing, whether you are political or not, it's very important. Education is also very important because it defines the future of a nation. When we look at matters to do with the, let's say general communication aspect, we still have this crime security law or whatever. And when you I listened to some discussion somewhere, and I've already read the law. I know the advantages and disadvantages. In fact, I shared that on my channel, Life Saga TV. Okay? Yeah?
1 plus 2, which is equivalent to economic. Kila kitu hata tufai hata kurudi hapo kwa mambo ya cyber harassment ili exhaust yote. Ukisoma ni section 27, unaweza igoogle section 27 ime address incitement nini hata kama yenye ina promote tribalism ama certain group of people wenye unataka wakuwe attack iko hapo. Lakini hii kusema ina maana likely to cause someone to commit suicide ililetwa tu ndio ikutishe sasa usifanye nini usipost. Unaona kitu mlikuwa mnasemanga ati siku moja ama MP tutakuja kuwakula. Unaona hizo? Sasa utakuwa unaonaga wale ma MP wa peti na sikudanganyi, hii sheria ikipita utaona siku moja mwanasiasa wa Kenya ameenda kota anasema mimi kuna vitu wenye watu wana post social media inanifanya mimi na familia yangu tunasikia kujiua, kwa hivyo tumekuja koti tutetee. Wewe unawajua vile ni wapeti. So hii ina promote tunaitwa nini, self censorship. Yani wewe uogope, yani ufikirie mara 5 kabla upost kitu ati nisikosee mtu. Sasa tukiishi hivyo inamaanisha basi hata turudi kwa shule tutoe literature. Tutoe hizo vitu zote, tutoe metaphors, tutoe similes, tutoe tu literature in general kwa sababu pia ni offensive. So fear. So hii letwa ku cause fear. Yani uogope kutumia simu yako. Uogope kusema occupy parliament. Uogope tuwe mwenyewe usema na hili nitakuwa nakosea ama sikosei. Umeget? But remember this, hapa ndio kitu ina fail. Na kwa nini?
So guys, I think we have come to an end. Thank you so much for watching my video. Let's meet again in another session. Bye bye. May God actually protect you and enhance you in your missions. Thank you.